If you're new to my channel, make sure to like and subscribe to continue receiving great reviews. Welcome to today's episode of the Funnel Building 101 Member Spotlight. Today's guest, I'm so excited. This is a well-respected business coach, speaker, and author. He's been through the startup phase multiple times. He's built a following from scratch, moved from niche to niche in search of fame and fortune, only to find that his true passion and purpose was right there in front of him the whole time. And once he clearly defined his passion and purpose, he's been able to work with some amazing clients such as Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, Michael Hyatt, Shark Tank's Kevin Harrington, Zig Ziglar's company, Ryan Levesque, Lewis Howes, Brian Tracy, along with many, many others. He's affectionately known as the affiliate guy, and he's worked with over 300,000 affiliates. He's ran close to 100 affiliate programs and coached dozens of affiliates. His new book, Turn Your Passions into Profits: The Proven Path for Building a Rewarding Online Business. It's the current #1 release on Amazon, and it's destined to be a bestseller and a classic. Now, I'm really excited to have this chat with him. So without further ado, let's welcome to the stage Mr. Matt McWilliams.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for having me, bud.
All right. Hey, so excited to have you on. I appreciate you taking the time to, I know you've got a really busy launch schedule right now. And I really want to talk to you about this new book that you're publishing right now. Now, for those out there that don't know who you are, can you start off by just introducing yourself? Let us know, who is Matt McWilliams and how did you get to be where you are today?
Oh my gosh. So about 44 years ago, I won a swimming contest, and fast forward 44 years, here I am. So yeah, let's gosh, where do we even start? So I've been in the online business world for over 20 years now. I got in many, many years ago. I'll tell this story. Kind of the genesis story was I was teaching golf schools with my dad. I just always assumed I would be a professional golfer. And, my best friend and I grew up and we said, we're going to play professional golf. Like, we are not going to be like those guys who grow up playing golf. And then one of these days, like when we're older, we give up on our dream and we teach old ladies in purple sweaters how to play golf. That's what we said. It's a bunch of 16 and 17-year-olds. Right. And sure enough, about 6 years later, I had quit playing professionally, and I was teaching these golf schools with my dad, and these golf schools had been very profitable. I'm 22 years old. I'm living with my mom. I pay her $250 a month in rent, and I'm making $4,000 to $6,000 in a weekend. Like 20 weeks out of the year. I mean, it's unreal, right? And I'm teaching these golf schools with my dad, and I was like, well, Dad, what if we get twice as many people to come instead of 4 or 5 people coming to these golf schools? What if we get 8 or 10? We can still give them great attention, 1-on-4, 1-on-5, but we'll make twice as much money. He's like, all right, well, how are we going to do that? I'm like, well, there's this website called Google. And like, if you put keywords in, then you give them money, then like you make sales. That was how I described it, because I was an idiot,
Oh, wow.
And sure enough, for 10 cents a click, you basically would come to my website, come to our website. And today, like I write about this in my book, in step 4 of the book, it's all about how do we create a lead magnet and get email subscribers and then nurture those subscribers over time and build a relationship with them. And that's how we create raving fans and ultimately make money. But back then you came to my website and you had 2 choices: give me $2,000 to $3,000 or leave. Thankfully, 1 out of every 200 people gave us $2,000 to $3,000. We spent $20 to acquire an average of $2,500 customer. And I remember one day, Mark, it was the end of January, early February 2003. We had an ice storm. And in North Carolina, when you have an ice storm, what that means is nobody goes anywhere for 3 days. Like, you just stay at home. And I'm sitting there, ice storm. I don't even get on the computer. I don't teach golf. I don't get on the computer. I basically do no work. And don't judge me when I say this, but I spent all day watching an Ally McBeal marathon on FX.
Ally McBeal?
Yeah, I know. Don't judge me. I'm watching Ally McBeal all day, sitting there. I don't think I got out of my pajamas all day long. I probably was stuffing my face with Totino's pizzas and Hot Pockets. And I'm watching Ally McBeal all day, and I had a ding set up on my computer when there was a sale made. Now, I wasn't there to hear the ding most of the time, but it would go ding, ding. So 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm watching Ally McBeal, eating oatmeal, whatever. I hear a ding. 11 o'clock, ding. 1 o'clock or so, I hear a ding. About 5 minutes later, I hear a ding. I haven't even finished my Totino's pizza. I'm hearing dings left and right. By the end of the night, I'd heard 7 dings. I had made almost $10,000 when split with my dad in one day doing nothing. And I went, I like this internet marketing thing.
Wow.
Here's the problem though.
Wow.
I hated teaching golf. I hated it with a passion. I couldn't stand it. I didn't want to do it. And sure enough, if you remember my friend and I, we said that we were never going to grow up teaching old ladies in purple sweaters how to play golf. And sure enough, one day golf school starts on a Friday morning and a 70-year-old lady in a lavender sweater walks up.
Oh,
and I took a picture with my little 0.2 megapixel flip phone like that. I texted my friend and said, kill me now. You know, I wasn't living out my passion. This had nothing to do with that sweet old lady. It wasn't about her. It was about me not living out my passion. Now, like a good friend, a good male friend, see, a good female friend, Mark, would immediately call you, would say, oh, sweetie, I'm so sorry. You're not living out your life's purpose. Let me make a casserole. You know, they'll do all those things, right? They will fly across the country to be with you in your darkest times. But like any good male friend, a friend who he's still my best friend to this day, over 20 years later, we've been friends for almost 30 years. He's texted me back and said, haha, sucks to be you. And so that's how your face looks like Shrek, right? And so that was the beginning of the end. Thankfully, a few months later, my dad fired me, or as I like to say, he freed me. But he fired me because I wasn't living out my passion. He knew I hated doing what I was doing. And that's what we see with entrepreneurs, Mark, is we see basically 2 extremes. The one extreme, the one I was on, making great money, hate what I'm doing. It's not sustainable. I will burn out sooner or later, and the world's going to miss out on what I have to offer. The second option is, hey, I love what I'm doing. I'm passionate about what I'm doing. I've been there 2011, 2012. I'm changing the world. I'm impacting lives. I'm saving marriages. I'm helping people be better and live longer and all these things, but I wasn't making any money. Either way, either extreme. I got passions, but no profits. I got profits, but no passions. The world's going to miss out on your message because you're going to give up. And what the whole book is about, what my whole mission as a company is about now, is how do we have both? How do we have the passion that keeps us going, that gets us up at 5 a.m. going, okay, I got this, let's go. And the financial side that allows me to keep that business going.
Oh, so good. So good, Matt. And so that's how you went from, because of course, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sending me a copy of this right here. I've really just dug into this book because as I got it. Okay, I have to admit, initially I wasn't completely convinced, only because you hear this phrase said a lot of times, turn your passions into profits. But after reading just the introduction of the book, I have to say that it intrigued me so much more that I really dug deeper into it. And hearing your story and seeing, what you just explained right now, you talk about that in the book about your dad being a golf instructor, and then you using your sort of like online skills to really start and take that business online. So what I want to ask is how, so you start this with starting with the golf. How has your journey gone from starting that with your dad to you becoming this affiliate marketing manager and running all of these affiliate programs and working with all of these clients?
Are you enjoying this interview with Matt? I want to remind you that his book, Turn Your Passion into Profits, The Proven Path for Building a Rewarding Online Business, is available at Amazon and wherever books are sold. After you get a copy of the book, Matt would like to give you some exclusive bonuses as a thank you. Now, these bonuses are some of his most sought after trainings that have sold for thousands of dollars. There's his training on developing your customer avatar. There's an intimate live private Q&A session with Matt himself, a deep dive training on how to create consistent content, an email marketing masterclass, and more than 10 hours of helpful marketing tips, in-depth training, bonuses, business building advice, and more. It's all yours when you pre-order Turn Your Passions into Profits. Just simply go to passionsintoprofitsbook.com/mental and submit your receipt by January 10th, 2023 to receive this offer. And in the words of Matt, live with passion, lead your tribe, and leave a legacy. Now, let's get back to the interview.
So that same best friend that I mentioned earlier who said, haha, sucks to be you. He and I about 5 years later started a company. 3 years later started a company. And this company, again, was in an area where I was super passionate about what I was doing. We loved what we were doing. I was having fun every day. We just weren't making any money. And so for us, we actually had a small team, and we had some payroll to cover, and we had some other expenses. And we realized this was Memorial Day weekend, 2005, that we don't have enough money to cover payroll. We just paid payroll that day, or that day before Friday. We don't have enough money to cover payroll in 2 weeks, and we're not planning on making enough over the next 2 weeks to be able to cover it. What do we do? And so we basically spent the entire day doing the equivalent of trying to pay for a car by digging through your couch for change. We're like, well, if we do this, then we can make this, then we can do this. Guys, it's still not enough. And I was like, well, guys, I've heard of these things called affiliates. And it's like people who they like promote your stuff, but you don't pay them till a little bit later, and you don't lose any money if they don't make any sales. And having been a company that just spent a bunch of money, don't laugh, it was banner ads back then, spent a bunch of money paying for banner ads and not making enough money to pay for them. We're like, this is a really good idea. Well, how do we do it? And how do we do it fast? Because we got 2 weeks. I don't know. So I spent the entire Memorial Day weekend, Mark. I had every intention of going to cookouts, maybe blowing up some fireworks, having fun, enjoying playing some cornhole, and spending some time at the pool. I did none of that weekend. I spent the entire time, 18 hours a day for all 3 days in the office trying to figure out how to start an affiliate program. I messaged our developer over, and he was in Eastern Europe. And I was like, hey, I can't pay you for this, but here's what I can do. If this thing works, then I'm going to share. I think I gave him like 10% of all the profits from the affiliate program for life. I was like, that's the only, and he ended up making hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was totally worth it to him. But I was like, let me start this affiliate program. And I figured it out. And I started reaching out to affiliates, and I got some people, and I got my first affiliate guy named Brandon Miller. He's from Western North Carolina. If he called up today, I'd still know it. Hey, Matt, it's Brandon. And he made like $300 in the first couple of weeks. And I got Lev Berinsky. He was a hot dog salesman outside of Ohio State games, but he was also an insurance agent. He was a young, like early 20s insurance agent. And I said, Lev, you run ads, you get all these leads for Ohio, but do you get some people from outside of Ohio? And he's like, yeah, people come, half the people that come to my website I can't sign them up for insurance. I was like, cool. Can you send those people our way? Yeah, sure. We'll do that. Boom. And I got this other person, Mark Feldman, guy in Massachusetts, same thing. He sold health insurance, but he got leads from Rhode Island and Connecticut and New York and Vermont and Maine. And I'm like, send them our way. We got all these people, and we started getting these, we were in insurance. We started getting all these insurance leads, and we grew. And I don't recommend this. Please do not hear what I'm about to say and go, I'm going to copy what Matt did. I do not recommend this. But we made just enough over the next 2 weeks that if we, because we didn't owe the money to the affiliates for another 4 weeks, that if we took all the money we made, including what we were going to owe them, we could make payroll. We better cover those expenses. And we did. And we managed from that point forward. Fast forward 18 months later, running $1 million a month affiliate program. And so what I've learned over the years is, okay, how does that person take that thing that they're passionate about, their niche, their message, their idea, their passion, and then turn it into profit? And so step 9 of the book is all about, affiliate marketing. Like, how do you start monetizing? How do you not give up when you don't have a product to create early on? You've got a few hundred people or 1,000 people following you. You've got a bit of an audience. How do you start to make money? I learned over the last 17 years of working with over 300,000 affiliates we've run Shutterfly's affiliate program, Reebok, Adidas, worked with huge entrepreneurs, small startups. I've run my own affiliate programs. I mean, people who are doing 5,000 a month, 2,000 a month, 0 a month, and grown them from there. And we've taken people who are, 7, 8, 9 figures and helped them grow as well, but all over the map, every different industry and whatnot. Again, worked with over, 300,000 different business owners to help them do this. And so that's ultimately what led to it, was just that desperation from, I've never even heard of an affiliate. There is no affiliate guy. There's no guy who has a podcast that teaches you with over 500 episodes how to do this stuff. I just made it up. Like most of what I did was trial and error, and I made a boatload of mistakes, but eventually we kind of figured out the system that works.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. 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 Oh, man. I think it was chapter 9, because you mentioned it. It's all about getting serious about monetizing it. I just want to say, because I think I told you this when we got on, I said, you're good, Matt. You are good. Just reading through the book and listening or reading your strategies and reading about just from, I love it how you said, live your passion. You said, lead your tribe and leave a legacy. Mm-hmm. And the email that you sent me was, can I tell the subject line of the email?
Yeah, sure.
It's like .com secrets. I opened it. Mm-hmm. I opened it, Matt. Yeah. And and that told me that, wow, this was really good. That was almost like the perfect subject line that for me to get me to click and open. And then when I opened your email, your text and your message was kind of the perfect, it's like your audience. Mm-hmm. And
that's an important part of it, yeah.
Yeah, and that was just so evident, and that's what really drew me and to just get in this book. And you say it's like .com secrets, but I think it's more like .com expert and traffic secrets all into one.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. Thank you. Yeah, that's awesome. That means a lot. Yeah, I mean, anytime somebody like you says something like that about the book, because I mean, that's just the thing about doing anything like this. This was 17 years of my life put into, it's not small, it's 278, let's call it 280 pages. It's not small.
I think the end pages are like the glossary and
yeah. But it's hard, it's like trying to, the original manuscript was 117,000 words.
Really?
The average business book is about 72,000 words. And they said, you got to get it down to 75. And we compromised at 82. So I had to cut 35,000 words, almost a third of the book, original manuscript from it. Really? And that's crazy when you think about that, like, cause there's so much more I want to include, but no, it's that means a lot when you go through all that we went through to get this to be what it is today. And not be, something that would weigh 4 pounds, and still get the message across. That means a lot. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. I think it's a simplified, compact, powerful quotes. I could make a couple of quotes of some things. I know that, inside the group, you asked me, and it was just after reading just the first chapter, and I had this mindset shift coming from something that you said in the first chapter. But and that was just like capture attention. The capture attention part, and then how did you get all of this knowledge though? Because the words in this book it's like, wow. It's like, wow, again and again and again. Are you enjoying this video? Now's the time to smash that heart button and hit the subscribe. What are you waiting for? You'll be glad you did.
Now back to the video.
And this was a really important quote that I heard from you in that book when you said that people will engage with you because you remind them of who they want to be. Mm-hmm. And they will share your content because your content is a representation of who they aspire to be.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, that, and when you all we're trying to do there with that is understand why people share. Because if we want to get more shares, if we want to get more traction, if we want to go viral, we need to understand why people share. People don't share necessarily because they got anything out of it, although that is a reason. They share because the act of sharing makes them feel good about themselves. They share because of what the sharing looks like to other people, what they're going to look like. And so when that sharing reinforces the view that we have of ourselves, for instance, whether it be a political thing, right? If you view yourself as, it doesn't matter whether you view yourself as a conservative, a liberal, a libertarian, a socialist, doesn't matter, right? If your view of yourself is a certain thing, then you will share the things that reinforce that, right? And so the same is true, you know, with anything. Oh, you're a vegan, or you're a meat eater, or you're a Bears fan, or what, it doesn't matter what it is. We will share the things that reinforce that view of ourselves that we already see ourselves as, and we want other people to see ourselves as. I'll give you a great example. So I went to the University of Tennessee. My sophomore year, they won the national title in football. That was the peak of my fandom as, you know, as a Vol fan, right? I haven't talked a lot about the University of Tennessee football in about the last 15 years. You know, there hasn't been much to talk about. This past season, though, when they beat Alabama and they were #1 in the country for, 2 weeks and those types of things, like, you bet that I was talking about. Why? Because I'm associating myself with that. And what I'm saying is, this is my team. Everybody look at my team. I don't care if they read the post and decide to become a Tennessee fan. I don't care if they read the post and get something valuable out of it. All I'm really doing, and this is a self-admission here, is I'm going, look at my team and I'm associated with them. They're winners. Therefore, I'm a winner and I want to be seen as a winner. So, and this sounds like almost sad, because when they start, eventually they're going to have a down year again. Whether, I don't know when it'll be. I mean, as a fan, I hope it's not anytime soon, but they're going to have a year where they go 8-5. Probably not going to talk a lot about that year, because it's not what I associate with. Now, will I still watch their games and root for them just as hard as I do now? Of course. But am I going to share as much? Probably not. And that's that thing. You talked about, like, how do I get this information? You're all capable of getting this information. Okay. Whatever it is, like, this is the thing. It's not about you becoming a great marketer. This book is not about you becoming a great marketer. This book it's the path, right? How do you go from the passions to the profits? Okay. That's the path. It's not about becoming a great marketer. You don't have to become a phenomenal marketer. You don't have to know everything about marketing. One of my good friends who used to work for us said, Matt, you've forgotten more about marketing than most people will ever learn. And it's not about that. It's about knowing the path and being able to simplify it. For me, it comes from a few places, Mark, I mean, this is for me. Number one, I'm a student.
I am loving this.
I study marketing. That's first of all, but I also study a lot of stuff that's not marketing. I study a lot of history. I make the connections. I talked about this in step 10 about creating content that, I was listening to a biography of Confucius one day, and the ancient Chinese philosopher and fortune cookie maker. And so I'm listening to this biography, and one of the things it said in there was that I don't remember what the context was, but it said the Eastern Zhou dynasty, Zhou. So I'm probably mispronouncing that. Zhou. The Eastern Zhou dynasty began to decline in 600 BC. And then it goes on and it talks about some other stuff. And then it says it fell in 296 BC. And I'm probably messing up the dates, but I went, wait a minute. 300 years? It took 300 years for the dynasty to go from start collapsing to collapse. Like, I grew up in this age, governments fell overnight. Like, if you remember, I grew up with the Soviet Union as our biggest enemy. They went from biggest enemy, like, on Monday to not existing on Thursday. Like Berlin Wall went from, like, it seemed like an eternity at my age from Mr. Gorbachev tear down this wall to it was only 6 years. for
Yeah.
5 years. We watch governments topple overnight on CNN. They live tweet coups now. The
Yeah.
governments go from like, this government's, in power, and then the next morning that government doesn't exist. And so the world is moving so fast. And so I took this story about Confucius and talked about how, you know what? No, you need to move fast in business. You've got to move fast in business. That comes from listening to a biography of Confucius.
Not from
These
marketing.
weird things. So for me, it's number one, I've been in the game for 20 years.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, I'm a student. I love listening to stuff in and outside of my marketplace. And then part of it was just, there's a certain God-given ability, but I believe that it can be nurtured over time to be able to make those connections.
Yeah.
It's a lot of practice. It's a lot of doing it. The story you sort of touched on earlier, my dad, right? So in step 4 of the book, which is convert visitors into subscribers, I talked about building why you need an email list, right?
Yeah. You talked about that.
And I talk about method. You've got to build an email list. You've got to have a lead magnet. And we can come back and fill in the gaps. But, I talk about this concept, like people think their lead magnet has to be this super fancy in-depth guide. It has to take weeks and weeks to create. It has to be as good as so-and-so's because they're the best. And your lead magnet has to address an immediate or pressing need in your target audience, right? That's it. Immediate or pressing. It does not have to be complicated. It does not have to be comprehensive. In fact, those make the worst lead magnets because they're difficult to consume. They take forever to consume. People never even put them into action. And that's a terrible first impression. You want people to want it because it addresses an immediate or pressing need or want. And you want it to provide a quick win. And I've delivered this, I've talked about that before. And there was an actual webinar that I was doing where I talked about that. And I talked about how it's got to give a quick win. And then all of a sudden I said out of nowhere, I was like, imagine you had a friend in pain.
Give him that.
And he had back pain and his, oh my gosh, my back is killing me. And then you said, hey, I've got the solution for you. Here's a lead magnet. Here's a PDF that's got 37 exercises that you can do. And it'll improve your back pain in 6 months. And by the way, here's a chiropractor appointment for next Tuesday. You will no longer be my friend. I want an ibuprofen. I want a Tylenol. Give me the quick win. When you give me the quick win, when I feel better right now, I'll come back for more. And then, so that was one story that I told. I just did it as I was doing it. And then I had this flash one day and I went, my dad had the best lead magnet ever. Now, my dad died in 2005. My dad never owned a computer, never had a cell phone that I know of, never got on the internet a day in his life, but he had the best lead magnet ever because my dad was a golf instructor. And I watched my dad day after day. He'd walk up and down the practice tee at the driving range and he would look for people in pain. Not my back hurts or my foot hurts, my elbow hurts. No, he would look for people who they'd hit a shot and they'd slam their club in the ground. They'd hit a shot and they'd mutter something. Oh, it's a stupid game. And he'd say, hey, can I offer you a quick tip? Sure. And he'd give him one tip, not 17 things. He didn't analyze their swing. He didn't take him inside to watch the video. One thing, one little tiny thing. All right, what I want you to do is I want you to move a half inch closer to the ball. Okay. I want you to move your hands this way. Something like that. One little, and they would hit the best shot they've hit in weeks. Quick win, solution to pain. And they would look at my dad and say, that was amazing. How do I get more lessons? And you sign them up for $1,000 golf instruction package. And I told that story, Mark. And so here's the thing. When you tell the stories like that, you have to then codify them. You have to go, that was a good story. Oh, that's a great story about lead magnets. And I've had hundreds of people who pre-read the book that said, oh my gosh, I had a guy there that he runs a 7-figure business, has 4 lead magnets. And he went, Matt, when I read that story and you talked about lead magnets, he's like, I didn't think I'd get anything out of that chapter. I read that story. We went and redid my lead magnets. My opt-in rate improved by 40%. He's going to get 40% more leads this year because of this chapter. And I was like, that's amazing. And it was just because that story clicked with him. But the key here is when you do that, when you tell that story off the fly or on the fly, and it comes to you, or you make the connection between Confucius and online business, and you do those things, you have to codify them. You have to write them down. You have to tell them over and over and over again and tweak them. The part about where I said my dad never owned a cell phone, never got on the internet a day in his life. When I first told that story, I never said that. But then I realized, wait a minute, I'm setting them up for going, well, if he never got on the internet, how did he have a good lead magnet? This must be good, you know? And so you start adding these little things to it. And then eventually you have a great story that can go in a book.
Oh my gosh, man. The book is so good in so many different ways because I feel you and you are doing exactly what you teach in the book. You're leaving those open things and making me want to know more. You've got and then every time you talk about something, you're saying that, hey, like when you talked about what I got from that was you talked about the 5 different ways to really get attention. Like you talked about disruption pattern, and then you talked about getting that one major pain, and then you said, yeah, I've got a resource, and then you use the exact same framework that you said about a need, and I'm like, I want that resource.
Yeah,
it's so well written, and it's so simple because you've got these exercises in the end, and I think I told you before, just briefly in the group, that you shifted my mind cool. In that one chapter where you talked about us being able to actually decide who we want to serve. And man, I want to talk to you about hours for this because I'm getting so much out of this, but we only have a limited amount of time. I want to ask everybody, who is this book for?
Yeah, it's for anybody who has an idea, a passion, a message. You know, like the entire premise of the book. You know, the entire premise of the book is that you are a messenger. We're all messengers, right? Messengers are the ones who are defining the new economy. Like, wake up, people! The economy has shifted, and it's probably shifted since you and I have been talking, Mark. In the last 30 minutes, the economy has drastically shifted. The entire premise of the book hinges on one belief: the world needs your message. All right. The world needs your message, but we are not going to wait passively or patiently for it. The world needs your message, but it will move on without it. And so if you've got a message, you know, here's the thing. You've got a message. You've got an idea. It doesn't matter what it's in. Matt, I help accountants. Great. You know, we have a client who, Adam Lean, who helps accountants. And step 7 of the book is all about championing their cause, right? Becoming a hero. And he's like, dude, I help accountants. How is that heroic? And I said, you told me when we first talked that you save the average client. You make the average client 10 to 20% more money, and you save them 10 to 20% time. I said, let's assume a 50-hour work week. That means you save them 7.5, 10 hours a week. Why don't you go ask their son or daughter if what you do is heroic? Why don't you ask the kid whose dad makes it to all the games, the wife who now gets a date night with their husband twice a month instead of him working late? Why don't you ask me if what you do is heroic? Why don't you ask them if what you do is heroic? So the thing is, like, there are potentially hundreds of thousands, millions of people out there waiting right now for you to share your message with them. The only question is, are you going to step up and share it? So if that's you, you know, like, I've got a message. I help this group. I help this group. I have a passion for this. I want to turn this into an online business. You know, you want to know the path. That's you. That is you. If you struggle with being a leader because, you know, the quote in the book, the old saying, right? The student is willing. When the student is willing, the teacher will appear. There are so many people out there right now that are waiting for you to appear. They're waiting for you to appear. The only question is, are you going to? And so we walk you through step by step how to do that in the book.
It is a step-by-step guide. And like I said, again, I love the exercises at the end of the chapter that don't just teach you and actually reinforce and codify the words you use. But man, I'd love to get into so much more because you talked about that going deeper than just, you know, they don't get a shovel to dig a hole. But they go deeper than that. They dig the hole because they want a fence, because they want security. Oh my gosh. As we wrap this up, I just want you to put an end on this. We got a couple minutes, and just tell everybody how they can actually take advantage of this book as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can get the book anywhere. You know, you can go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Target, Walmart. If they sell books, they sell my book. We had an order the other day from little tiny bookshop in Hamilton, Ontario, come in for 4 books, you know,
Oh, really?
which was, that was like the first independent bookstore outside of the US to order the book. And our publisher was really excited about that. So you can get it anywhere, but the best place to get it is passionsintoprofitsbook.com/mental. For the mental marketer there. So I know, Mark, you'll put that in the show notes, everybody. So passionsintoprofitsbook.com/mental. When you go there, we've got tons of extra bonuses for you. I mean, literally there's almost $1,000 in extra bonuses. We've got one on creating your ideal customer avatar. We dive in, there's a couple pages on it in the book, but we take a deep dive in this, this extra program in there on developing your ideal customer avatar. We've got an email marketing masterclass. We didn't have time to talk about that today, but we've got that in there.
I know.
Got my training vault. We've got so much other stuff. When you go to that URL again, passionsintoprofitsbook.com/mental, you'll get all the extra bonuses there.
Awesome, awesome, amazing. And I just want to say that I think that you are really on to something with this book, and this book can really change a lot of people's lives. So I'll make sure to leave all that information around this video. It's been a pleasure having you on and talking with you today, Matt.
Thanks, Mark.